Welcome to another edition and our first in-season edition of the Roll Tide Draft Blog, and we will be bringing you our Rookies of the Week for the opening week of the NFL. Herbie, are you ready for some football?
Dude, it's our time of year. Sorry for the kind of delay, or I guess kind of break that we took. But Baker and I really didn't realize how much time we wouldn't have for this blog this past summer. But God, we've been talking about it, and we are ready. It's back to football, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the offseason, obviously there's not a lot of storylines, or at least not as many following the rookies. But with the preseason, we already showed you who we think were our best preseason rookies. But now here's the real thing. These kids are really going to prove their worth to their teams, whether they're a high-round draft pick or a late-round draft pick. So let's start out. So, Herbie, who is your Rookie of the Week, or your prediction for Rookie of the Week in the AFC?
We're going to start with defense?
Offense.
Start offense? All right. AFC, you know what? I hate to do it. You know, it's like picking a Steeler, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Dre Archer's my guy. I love his speed. I loved him in the draft. I mean, he's tiny, and he can just wreak havoc on a defense. I think Roethlisberger's going to have a great time with him, just dumping the ball off to him, just basically just getting in his hands. I think he brings a whole new element to an offense. And as a kick returner, I mean, I think he brings an entire new element to the game. I think you have to change up your special teams, mindset for this player. And I think that Dre Archer is going to do I'm going to hate him, as a Ravens fan, and I think he's going to do great things in Pittsburgh. I'm excited to see him, and I hope he lasts. He's a small player. Obviously, size is a concern. What round did he go in? I forget what round he went.
Third round, I believe.
Third round. Yeah, so third round. So size didn't push him into the fifth or sixth, but he was a third rounder, and he did come from Kent State. So I think he's got a lot to prove. But I think his speed. I mean, he's the fastest of the combine, and I think his speed puts him at a whole new element, a whole new level, and I think he's going to excel in the NFL.
Yeah, Dre Archer obviously had all those explosive numbers at Kent State. Probably a fun little toy for Ben Roethlisberger. I agree with your your hesitance to pick him as a Steeler player since we're a little AFC North biased. But for me in the AFC, I'm going to go with Bishop Sankey of the Tennessee Titans, their second-round pick. I think he comes in, and he's already one of the most explosive players on the roster. He gives you a receiving target and a running target. They have a great offensive line. They took Taylor Lewan in the first round, who I think will help him out significantly. And really, it's a big season for Jake Locker. And by taking Sankey, I think that they potentially take a lot of pressure off of Locker, and Sankey can give him a very good pass catch / running duo, take a lot of pressure off them. And also, I just don't quite trust the Chiefs' defense this year. They made a lot of big plays and forced a lot of turnovers, and that's why they're so successful. And after they were kind of lost that healthy streak they had going, I don't know if the Chiefs can contain a kind of two-way threat like Sankey, especially in Week 1 where everyone's kind of trying to get into season form.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think Bishop Sankey does more than people realize for that Tennessee Titans team. You can't blame that offensive line. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that offensive line now, bringing Michael Orr. You got Michael Roos on the other side and Taylor Lewan in the first round. So, I don't think there's no reason for him not to excel. I think you're right. I'm not ready to give up on Jake Locker like most people are, but I think he takes a lot of pressure off. I mean, after this season, I probably will give up on him, but this is a big season for Jake Locker, and I think Bishop Sankey does a lot for him. And I think you're right. I mean, I love his body size, big dude. Can lower his shoulder, and he's got some shift to him as well. I like him a lot. I like that pick. So I hope he does well. I like Bishop Sankey a lot.
A lot of Giovanni Bernard or Ray Rice coming from our angles in Bishop Sankey's game. But now let's move over to your pick in the NFC. Who do you have as your NFC Offensive Rookie of the Week for Week 1?
I've liked this guy the whole way through the preseason. It's Kelvin Benjamin. I think, there was questions coming in. I think about Dwayne Bowe sometimes when I think of him, just a big guy who's got a lot of opportunity and could easily, slide under the radar and just kind of fall into the system like Dwayne Bowe kind of has. But I saw some great things from him in the preseason. I lived in Charlotte this summer, and I watched that crazy catch he had against the Bills. Those are the kind of catches that I think are going to take him into being the top guy in Carolina. Essentially you bring him in to be the guy in the back of the end zone, going up to get the high toss from Cam Newton. But those acrobatic plays that he made in the preseason kind of take him up the next notch for me, and I like him a lot. I think Cam Newton's clearly the receiving core is the issue in Carolina. I think Cam Newton is going to be very relieved this season having. I think he's going to have a big game, and they play Tampa Bay, so no Revis Island to cover him. So I think he's going to do big things.
Yeah, please check out our article on our preseason rookies for our best rookies of the preseason, because Herbie and I both picked Kelvin Benjamin as one of the best rookies of the preseason, and he is a great target for Cam Newton, especially since Cam Newton right now has an injured rib, and not a lot of wide receivers on that team who are really worth a hoot at this point in their careers, at least. So I think that's a very good pick. For me, I'm going to stay in the NFC South, but I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks of the New Orleans Saints. Reason one, Drew Brees. The last 3 seasons, he's had over 5,000 yards passing. They love to spread the ball around and throw the ball to multiple receivers. I think Cooks is going to be great as their first-round draft pick. The second reason is Jimmy Graham and Marcus Colston. You have your possession receiver in and Marcus Colston. And Jimmy Graham, you have a big play threat and a big target. And I think Cooks will add that explosive element to the Saints offense that you haven't really seen in a couple years since Robert Meacham left, and really hasn't been the same since he came back and now has been cut by the Saints. And lastly, I think the running game of the Saints is really going to improve. You saw it improve with Mark Ingram. I think Ingram's in for a big year this year as the Saints' main running back. And certainly that's only going to help Cooks take balls over the top. And I think that Cooks, even though he's only about 5'9", 5'10", and that might even be a little generous, he has the ability to catch balls over the middle, strong, consistent hands, and just that blazing speed that is really going to open up the Saints' offense. I think he's going to have a great first week in the NFL.
The Saints are a scary team this year, bro. They've got a lot going for them. Mark Ingram ran like a man possessed this preseason. I mean, what an absolute freak
Absolutely.
he's become. And Drew Brees, it's self-explanatory. And I think if Brandon Cooks becomes the player they draft him to be, I think tomorrow, after the game, they'll be like, who's Darren Sproles? It's like I think they literally are about to improve. I mean, he brings such a different element to the game. His speed's unbelievable. You're right. He can catch the ball all over the field. He doesn't play like he's 5'10", 5'11", being generous. He and Drew Brees is just, he's going to make Drew Brees' job easy. All you got to do is get that kid the ball. And he was one of my favorite players from in the draft. So fast, love his ability, and I think he just brings a whole, with Jimmy Graham and Marcus Colston, dear God, I do not want to play the Saints this year.
Absolutely, and we've been discussing our Rookies of the Week for opening weekend of the NFL season. Well, let's move to the defensive side of the ball, and let's go back to the AFC. Who is going to be your pick for AFC Rookie of the Week for this opening weekend?
I got Jadeveon Clowney.
Easy pick.
Stuck with him the whole way. I saw just an insane amount of ability in the preseason. That I'm obsessed with this guy, and I think we all are. And I think I'm just, the Mike Mayock and the whole, his junior year, he didn't care, blah, 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 all this stuff. Whatever, he didn't care. And now he comes in the league, and some of the plays he made in this preseason just show me that he was just ready to get to the NFL. He's ready to show people an entirely new player, just ready to go, so fast, so strong, ready to just knock some heads off. And what was that? Who's that hit on? That kid from the Falcons. Oh my gosh! I mean,
it was either Devontae Freeman or Quiz Rogers in the back.
Yeah, I think it was Quiz Rogers. Whoever it was a just merciless hit, and it just that right there was like, okay, this kid is ready to go. And they play the Redskins this weekend. Bring it on, man! I can't wait to see this guy play.
Certainly be exciting to watch Clowney try and chase down Robert Griffin III, who will be coming back off of his latest knee injury. And I like that pick of Clowney. Like you said, he showed all that athleticism and explosiveness in the preseason. We saw it in the Combine. There's not a lot of reasons to pick against him, but I'm going to pick the guy in the AFC who was really only second to Clowney as far as the workouts went at the Combine and went 5th overall to the Oakland Raiders. I'm going with Khalil Mack. I love what he can do with this Oakland Raiders offense. They're going to be an aggressive defense, Oakland Raiders defense, because they're going to be an aggressive defense this year with the acquisition of Lamar Woodley and Justin Tuck. He's going to have some great mentors on that side of the ball. And I really think that they're going to be aggressive against this Jets offense that really doesn't scare anyone until we see something from Geno Smith. The Jets offensive line is another year older, and I think a young, explosive, strong, physical player like Mack is going to have a big week against that offensive line. And we'll really see if Geno Smith can handle it. And if a rookie makes Geno Smith look bad again, it could be very well almost time for Michael Vick, and it's only week 1.
I think you're absolutely right. I like that Khalil pick. I think I remember putting him in my kind of he didn't really show out for me this preseason. He didn't do what
No,
I
he was a little on and off, but he had a sack, and I think he showed enough in the limited playing time he got to make a quick impact in the NFL.
He's adjusting. I mean, he's coming from Buffalo. He's played some top teams, but he hasn't played. It was a bigger jump for him than most. And but I think you're right. I think that defense. I mean, with the moves they made in the offseason, Oakland needs something going, and they need to get back to the roots where they start knocking blocks. And I think Khalil Mack is the perfect guy to build around, and I think he brings the aggressiveness and the toughness that Oakland needs to kind of get back to the Al Davis days when they were just lighting guys up. So I think you're right. I think that's a great pick, and if he takes down Geno enough times, I think you're right. I think we see Michael Vick pretty early. So I like that pick. Good call.
I definitely think also what we're going to kind of be a factor for what we are going to see from Khalil Mack for the season is how he handles Chris Johnson in space, because that the Jets are going to try and get Chris Johnson into as much open space as possible to use that explosive speed. So, if we see Khalil Mack in that one-on-one situation with an explosive veteran player and he does very well, I think it's going to be a great career and a great season for him. But if he starts to struggle, there could be some growing pains in that transition to the NFL.
You're right.
But let's move on to our NFC Defensive Rookie of the Week pick. Who do you have in the NFC?
I got Aaron Donald. Just the guy that, just reminds me of Dontari Poe, and just the guy with the chip on his shoulder, kind of was the guy that boosted his stock the most this year in the draft. I mean, he was underrated, but he had a lot of ability, and he's freakishly strong. And on that defensive line, he's had a great preseason. On that defensive line with Robert Quinn and Chris Long, oh my gosh, this kid's he's coming into a dream team for him. He's got no pressure because he's got 2 Pro Bowlers on either side of him. And I think he's coming in and he brings an incredible amount of speed and strength. That combination is so deadly. And right now, the Rams need him. They need that defense to hold up in a big way this year because they have no quarterback. So, he's got a great opportunity to come in, and he's going to get all the fame and that entire defense is, because there ain't going to be no offense. So I'm telling you, this guy Aaron Donald is in the perfect situation right now, coming in and playing on the same line as Chris Long, Robert Quinn, and I think he's going to have a big season. Definitely going to have a big week against Minnesota.
I agree with that pick, Aaron Donald. Even more than Dontari Poe, I see a lot of Geno Atkins as more of a 3-technique pass rushing threat from the middle, and more Michael Brockers as that big spacing tackle. But you're right. Either way, he comes in as a perfect fit, and I think is only going to succeed in St. Louis along that defensive line, along with a great defense and great front seven. But for me, I'm going with Jimmy Ward of the San Francisco 49ers. Their first-round pick is a safety. He's going to come in next to Eric Reed and take over Dante Whitner's spot. I think not only is he going to have success this season because of great coaching, and especially this week coming in playing the Dallas Cowboys, who we don't really know a lot about the Dallas Cowboys right now. We know that they don't have a defense. That's really the only fact we have about them right now. And offensively, we don't know how Tony Romo is health-wise. He's coming off back surgery. We know Des Bryant will probably end up having a big year, and they'll be fine offensively with that great offensive line and that balanced attack that they can have. But I just don't know if I trust them week one with Tony Romo still kind of getting back to full speed. I just expect Jimmy Ward to come in with that great coaching, filling that need in the safety position, and just having the pressure on him to step up early. He performed well for a bad Washington State, for a average Northern Illinois team, and I expect him to come in and just have a successful first game.
Jimmy Ward's that player in this year's draft that I was like, I love this guy, and I'd take him in the first round, but I don't think anybody's going to do it. And then San Francisco did, which tells me a lot about the player they think he is, the player that he's going to be. And and I've watched, we watched him in, the Niners came out and they played the Ravens for a week, and he made some great plays out there. I watched those practices as much as possible. That kid's a great player. What a great fit. I was almost kind of like, I felt kind of cool. I was like, all right, sweet. Harbaugh values this kid as much as I would. So I think he's a great fit out there, and he's coming into a great defense, playing next to all those Pro Bowlers out there. I think he's going to be just an unbelievable addition to that defense, and that kid's going to have a great week. Who they play this week?
They play the Dallas Cowboys, and I think just a lot of turnover and a lot of those injuries on the San Francisco defense, it's going to be important for him to step up early, and I think he'll answer the bell with all of that veteran leadership and veteran coaching that they have there in San Francisco.
Romo's known to toss up a freebie or two, so
Absolutely, especially at the end of the game. So, and those for this week, those are our rookies of the week here in the AFC and the NFC. But thank you for tuning in to the Roll Tide Draft Blog. Please look at all of our other articles and videos, and we'll keep going with this every week. Follow us along the entire season, and we'll give you a lot of more NFL Rookie of the Week picks. But before we leave, let's move over to the college side of the ball, or the college game for a minute. And last week we threw up who were going to be our top 15 players to watch. So, Herbie, who is a player this week? There are a lot of big matchups here in the second week of the season. Who do you think is going to have a big week in college football?
You know who it is, and you're just grinning, waiting for me to say it because you know I'm picking part of the Crimson Tide. I'm going with Amari Cooper. Dude's a freak. I mean, Blake Sims probably wouldn't have played as well as he did without him. You know, it's Amari Cooper does a quarterback's job for him. All you got to do is get that kid the ball and let him do what he does. And I really can't wait for him to get to the NFL. And they're playing FAU this week. He'll probably play for like a quarter before he gets taken out. But that offense is deadly. And literally Blake Sims barely had to do anything, and he still looked good. And Amari Cooper did that for him. And I'm excited to see him play the season. Not excited to play him, as I was in Atlanta this past weekend for the Ole Miss Boise State game, and but he was fun to watch, and it was God, I was sitting there at some barbecue joint watching him play, and the entire restaurant was just like, oh my God, like what are we gonna do with this kid? So he was fun to watch, and I'm excited to see him play, even though I do hate Alabama with a passion.
You know that I'm excited to watch Amari Cooper play, as I did watch him last week as well as an alumni of Alabama. But for me this week, it's going to be the top prospect we put on the board, Marcus Mariota, and how he plays against that Michigan State team that only brings 5 starters back on defense. Obviously, they played a cupcake last week, and so did Oregon. But how he handles that Michigan State, that tough front seven that they're always going to have, they play a tough physical style defense, and you saw Michigan State go and just really, punch in the mouth a similar style system in Ohio State last year in the Big Ten championship game. But 2 different teams, it's a different season, a different defense now for Michigan State, and I'm wondering if a more experienced team in Oregon at home can really take advantage. Obviously, Mariota is the key to that offense.
It's a great pick. God, Mariota's beat. We were talking about the other day. I think I kind of like Brent Hundley a little bit better, but I don't know. The game that I saw him play against Virginia kind of swayed me more towards Mariota. But I think that's a great pick. I think what a great test for him. Go and play in a Big Ten team, playing a Big Ten defense. I think that'll be a great way to showcase his ability in the first couple of weeks here of college football.
Well, the other reason for that pick is whenever Oregon plays a puncher in the mouth kind of defense team, a la Stanford, who seems to be beating Oregon a lot more than they're losing to them in recent years, the Oregon offense just kind of falters to it. So you're going to get that same style team, maybe a little less experienced or a little less talented than the Stanford team, and that's no discredit to Michigan State and what they do on either side of the ball. But I just want to see how they react, and maybe this is the year that they finally don't fall to Stanford if they get this big win at Autzen Stadium over the Spartans.
Good pick. I like it all.
Absolutely. So once again, thank you all for listening to this edition of the Roll Toddy Draft Blog, and we are going to keep going on with all these Rookie of the Week picks, keep updating our big board and who we think is going to be hot throughout the college football season and throughout the NFL season. And on Tuesday, after all the NFL games are complete, you'll see who was our actual Rookie of the Week pick once all of our results are in.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be back. It's football, baby. We'll see you next week.
It is football season. All right. Thanks for watching once again.